my name is Adriel for those who do not know me, and for those who already do know me, welcome back to the party. As so many of you know, and some of you may not, I moved to Paris 4 years ago during the COVID pandemic. So I arrived in Paris actually the day before the COVID-19 lockdown, and I was here when everything in the city was empty. It was just surreal. And I have now been here basically right at 4 years, and I have learned a lot about life and about myself in that time, and I really kind of want to share what I've learned with you, and then also kind of share just a little update about kind of how my life has changed since I left the US and moved to Paris. The first thing I would say that I learned is that starting over should not be scary. One of the things I've really noticed since moving to France is how quickly and easily French people kind of change their career. So my immigration attorney that I had when I first moved here, she said, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to move into data privacy. They have a whole system here that allows you to kind of go back to school and get a certificate, and maybe that school is like a year long, maybe 2. And as a result, once you have that, you can literally, you're qualified to do something else. So literally, she went from being an immigration attorney to a data privacy attorney, and like the span of 2 years. And that was it. My boyfriend, he's French. He went from being a sailing instructor to a financial advisor, right? Like he was able to just like up and change his career. And in seeing that and in just hearing all of these stories, I've really come to the belief that, you know, change should not be scary. I think change is made to be so scary in the US. I had everything that everyone said I was supposed to have that was supposed to make me happy, and I was so miserable. When I kind of uprooted my life, I realized that like it shouldn't actually be that scary to just uproot your life and do something different, to figure out a new path, to kind of like put yourself in a different direction. It shouldn't be something that is just considered so monumental, and yet for us in the US it really is. Now note, I said that kind of the change shouldn't be scary. I didn't say that that means the change shouldn't be easy. One of the things I will tell you, it is not easy. It is not easy to change, particularly in American culture, particularly kind of like, in the profession that I was in. I was an attorney. I had done that for 10 years. You know, you have this very kind of set way of thinking and doing things. And so as a result, I really was kind of resistant to a lot of change. I was very scared of it, and I was very much like, oh, if I want to change something, I have to think through 15,000 different options of what could go wrong before I can do that. And I really do think that at times that hindered me. I over-planned and underacted, right? Whereas in my move to France, I overacted, probably. Not overacted, but I acted in the right way. And I underplanned. But in reality, I didn't really underplan, because there were small things I had been doing over the course of those years I was a lawyer that kind of made like that planning and that action work at like just the right moment. So I really did have kind of the right factors come together at the right time. And if you want to see the video on that, I have a video on kind of how all that came together. But I will say that it was still scary. There are days when I just have no idea what is going on. There are days when I feel overwhelmed still. If I have a problem here, that problem is small, but it generally becomes massive because I don't know how to deal with it. My French is so much better than when I first got here, but it's still like not exceptional, right? I'm not fluent by any means. I did speak some French before I arrived. I could read some French. I had studied it in college, but it wasn't the same, right? And yeah, it's hard. I've really come to that belief that like you should be able to change. It shouldn't be this scary, terrifying thing. But also at the same time, it shouldn't be don't expect it to be easy, because it won't necessarily be easy. And I think that's one of the main things, the first things I've really learned since moving here. I'd say one of the second things I've learned since moving to France is that patience is a virtue, and it is so important to just slow down. My life in the US as an attorney, living on the East Coast, I was go, go, go. I was work, work, work. I mean, I was just in like a whirlwind all of the time. And I didn't recognize exactly how much of a whirlwind I was in until I moved here, until COVID happened, and I was literally just sitting in a French apartment all day, every day, not entirely certain what I was doing. Things were just so chaotic, and I really had to learn to just slow down. Sometimes when I'm bored, I just accept that I'm bored. I'm bored. And so maybe I go for a walk. Nothing here in this country moves fast. Nothing moves quickly. Nothing happens at a pace that you would like it to. So you just learn to wait. I wait for stuff now. I'm like, okay, it's not happening anytime soon. And I've just gotten used to that. Now the thing is that the French would say that life in Paris is stressful. They think it's stressful, they think it's crazy. But that's all relative, right? I think that if you're coming from the US, life actually is very stressful. Life is go, go, go. And so when you're here, it's just, even though for French people, Paris is chaotic, from my American perspective, it's just so much slower. And I really learned that it's okay to live life at a slower pace. I may have 5 errands that I need to get done one day. Let's say 5. But in reality, I know that I'm not going to get any more than 3 done. 3 is like, I start at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. and I might get 3 tasks done in one day. That's what I mean when I say that I've really just learned I have to slow down. Now, at the same time, that's not always great, because it can, for me at least, it can make me feel at times like I'm not moving kind of forward fast enough. I don't know, I just always felt like I was in this rat race in the US. There are all these things I had to accomplish at, certain milestones in my life, and I felt like I hadn't accomplished those things, and, I'm behind schedule and blah, blah, blah. And I still feel, let me be clear, I still feel that way on days, right? Like, I so desperately want to be a mom. I really, really want to have the experience of giving birth one day. I have had a lot of health issues related to my female area, and so as a result, it's just one of the things that I desire so much is to have a mini-me, and to have that little person who like looks like me, because my mom looks like my grandma and I look exactly like my mom, and I would just, oh my gosh, it's just something I want and desire so much. I want and desire and wish that I owned my own apartment and could afford to have the apartment of my dreams that I want to have, I wish that I had started my business and it was already booming and it was already successful, and I wish for that. I wish that that's where I was at this point in my life, but it's not. And in learning to kind of slow down and learning to be patient and being here, it's taught me that it's okay that I haven't hit these milestones that, I feel are very much created, for us by society, or at least American society in my case. I'm able to really accept, okay, it's okay. I'm not behind. I'm moving at my pace. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to kind of move at the pace that is best for me, and I need to really be patient with that and give myself grace. So one of the third things that I would definitely say I've learned is that it is so so important to feed your interest and to really like immerse yourself in like cultural learning and that sort of thing. You know, I was a lawyer, and as an attorney, I was always kind of, you know, that was my identity. That was my job. That was who I was. I was Adriel the attorney. But I loved fashion. I had no interest in corporate law. I had no interest in mergers and acquisitions. I loved fashion. I loved fashion. I loved design. I loved style. I loved all of those things. I was made to constantly feel like those things were frivolous, and what I was doing was real and substantial, and so I should focus on that, right? Those things were vain. This is something that, you know, adults do, that professionals do. This is the real work. And oh my gosh, if there's anything I go back and tell myself, it would be, girl, quit the job and go do the thing you like. Feed that interest. Pursue that. If you are not happy here, change the course and pursue the thing that makes you interested. If I had genuinely fed into and given into my interest in fashion, right? So if I had done YouTube videos sooner, right? If I had done more on social media, if I had kind of gotten into all of that sooner, I truly believe I would have found myself in Paris sooner. And Paris is where I am supposed to be, and like 100%. I should have fed that interest. You should feed your interest. Feed the things that you love. Go, if you love art, feed that. You know, you don't have to do what everybody else is telling you to do. Feed your interest. And the thing is, there are going to be people around you who like don't support you. It's okay. They're not living your life, right? And that's something that I really learned and I've really come to understand. You know, the French love culture. There are so many museums in Paris. There are always new exhibitions. You know, culture is a really big part of this city. And I just think that that's something that is incredibly important and something that I've learned since being here and wish that I had kind of known before. One of the last things I would say that I've learned since moving to Paris is that you cannot run away from your problems. You can change your job, you can change your city, but if you do not work on yourself and you don't deal with yourself and deal with the problems and issues that you have, those problems are just going to follow you. One of the things that I did before I moved to France is I had actually been going to a therapist, and I started going to her. It really helped me to just stay grounded in who I was, even though I was in a completely new environment and I was experiencing completely new things every moment of every single day, right? I was learning something new, and yet even I wasn't trying to I wasn't bringing my baggage and my problems that I had kind of been having into that new environment. In many ways, I was able to come into that new environment without being weighted down. So the thing is, I just really realized that if you don't deal with those problems and things, you know, that you have kind of in your old life, those things they're gonna follow you. So obviously I've kind of shared with you, you know, some of the things that I would say I have learned since moving to Paris, you know, 5 things, and kind of those are the things that I've really been kind of reflecting on as I've hit this kind of 4-year mark, this 4-year anniversary. And I also want to give you just very much an update on my life and what it looks like now. So I moved here alone. I moved to Paris all alone. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to get out of the US. I had to get away from that job. I had to get away from the environment. I had to get away from the people. And I dreamed of moving to Paris. Now, the very first time I ever visited Paris, I felt instantly like I was home. And every single time I would go back to the US and then finally get a chance to come back to Paris, I felt, oh, thank goodness I'm home. And that feeling has never left me. And all of the craziness of the last 4 years, that feeling has never left me. I 100% feel that I am at home every day. Now, there are days when it is obviously very, very hard, very difficult, very stressful, and my life has changed so much over that 4 years. So I have met a really lovely and amazing French man who I care about deeply. His name is Juju. Well, his name is Julian, but I call him Juju. And I love him so much. And he's very good to me. He's very kind. He met my dad for the first time recently, so that was interesting. So I talked about this a bit in my Paris weeklies in December and then early January, but I have been dealing with some visa issues. My visa actually expired in February, and I could not get like an update or progress or anything on my renewal. And I was going crazy. Like, totally crazy. I was all stressed out, you know, maybe about the week before my birthday in February, and I got a text message from this guy that I know who works at the Gucci store in Paris, one of the Gucci stores in Paris. And I met him actually on his first day of work, like over a year ago. And we kind of became friends after that, right? Like we definitely became friends. And he's so sweet. And if you want his name so you can buy Gucci, let me know, darling. I'll give it to you. So, he sent me a text message. He's like, Adriel, how are you doing? I was like, dude, I'm super stressed out. You know, I'm having all these visa issues, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, I actually happen to have a friend who's pretty high up in the police department. Do you want me to contact him? And I was like, yes. And the day after my birthday, I get a notice that my visa application has been approved. So that really is my update. That is what I've learned over being here over 4 years. That's how my life has been progressing over the course of the 4 years. Like, met a man, figuring out a new career, and you know, got like I got a permanent apartment, and finally have a visa that's like a really long visa that's going to allow me to like work and whatnot. And yeah, crazy. I am a living testament to how much your life can change in such a short period of time. I mean, I used to sit at an office every day. I was so miserable, and now I can like just go see the Eiffel Tower. I walk along the Seine. I'm living life, and no, it's not exactly how I would want it to be. You know, there are things that I'm still working on. It's not perfect, but it is a whole heck of a lot better than where I was. And I'm really, really grateful for that. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. I always read them, always try to respond, do my best. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, take care, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.